All right, guys, welcome back in to Will and Nick Save the World, episode 9.
Let's go.
And you're not going to get this reference, but this would be the Rise of Skywalker episode of Will and Nick Save the World.
I know that it has something to do with Star Wars.
Yes.
I get the reference at least that far.
Because Star Wars, the most recent film, is episode 9, the last of the Skywalker saga. It's called The Rise of Skywalker.
Okay, so let me just go ahead and say this now. For anybody else that's confused, like I am literally right now, the Star Wars episodes did not go in order at all, did they?
No, not at all. It started with 4, 5, 6, then went 1, 2, 3, and then went 7, 8, 9.
Yes.
Yeah.
Why?
I don't know.
Okay.
George Lucas basically George Lucas started that way because he went with, actually it's kind of funny because to the best of my knowledge, the way I've always understood it, Star Wars was originally just titled Star Wars. It wasn't titled Star Wars Episode 4.
Okay, I was going to ask that.
Yeah.
Did it start off as the first Star Wars ever? They're like, welcome to Star Wars Episode 4.
Yeah, it wasn't like Episode 4, A New Hope. It was just Star Wars.
Okay.
So that's why partly, it was just basically called Star Wars. And then they were like, oh, well, it's Episode 4. And then Episode 4, 5, 6, and then 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3 shows how Darth Vader came to be. That's
okay.
So they're prequels.
I got Yeah. I did at least semi know that there was some pre-stuff that happened, and I guess we expanded on it afterwards.
Yeah.
And similarly, it's like our podcast. We're starting with episodes 2 through X. And then maybe we'll give the prequel episode 1 later down the road.
If there is enough a desire for episode 1, we will share it.
In time.
But some people already listened to it.
That's true.
The lucky few.
The lucky few.
Yeah, who knows what's on it, really? Only us and them. That's it. Until you guys find out.
Maybe a couple handfuls of people, but yeah.
Yeah.
If the interest is large enough, then we'll tease it longer and longer.
We're just trying to
and then
tease
maybe.
it.
Yeah. Forever. People finally get in there like, what the hell?
They were like, this is the worst episode you guys have ever done.
Delete it again. Delete it.
Yeah, no, it's a good episode, I think. So, and it's a little probably more, I don't know how to describe it. I don't want to give too much.
It's like our pilot episode, man. You know what I mean? The pilot episode isn't part of the the TV series that you see on TV.
Right.
You find it later, and you're like, oh, holy shit, this was the pilot.
Yeah.
This is what got it going.
Yeah. So anyway, we have a lot of important things to discuss on this episode. We're going to try
always.
to hit all of those important things as quickly and as thoroughly and thoughtfully as we can.
Indeed.
Which is really, really important for a podcast that's trying to save the world like us.
Yeah, 100%.
So
once we inspire them to save the world, we need to leave you time to go out and do it.
And do it. to
execute.
actually do the act of saving the world.
We have a 5-hour podcast afterwards. They're just exhausted. They're like, all right, I gotta go to bed after this shit. I got a lot to think about.
One thing, too, we should mention real quick is now that we actually have a channel banner.
Yes,
on
yes,
YouTube and Facebook. So that's one thing, too. We're actually on Facebook now. Will and Nick Save the World. On every platform where Will and Nick Save the World.
With an and symbol, correct?
Yes, with an and symbol. That is exactly right.
Very important.
So we're on Instagram as that, and we have a YouTube banner now for those of you that are watching on YouTube. Will and Nick Save the World. It is there. You saw our logo from last episode, so
Indeed.
that's so cool. So be sure to check us out on Insta, on Twitter. We actually have a Twitter too, and Facebook and all that.
I didn't even know we had a Twitter until right now.
Well, now you do.
Let's go.
And I forgot, actually, I got to put the banner up on Twitter. I haven't done that yet.
That's all right. Yeah, guys.
But by the time you're watching, it'll be there.
Yeah, and guys, we're growing. We're trying to get ourselves out on as many platforms as possible, look as official as possible. So if you guys are enjoying the content, take 20 seconds, maybe 30 seconds. You have a really nice long comment to leave us, but let us know what you think. Honestly, good, bad, or indifferent. And what you guys are liking with the channel. That way we know we can keep doing and maybe what we should tweak moving forward.
Yes, and just remember, we're on Spotify and Apple Podcasts now. For you audio-only listeners,
oh yeah,
that's where to find us, the best places anyway.
For sure.
Okay, so what we're going to start with, I think.
Yes.
I mean, we Nick and I kind of go a little bit back and forth in the beginning before we start recording, but I think we're going to start with some collection
Yes,
stuff.
we are.
We're going to make this pretty brief because I'm not going to bore the listeners too much with my nerdiness. But
please do tell.
Okay, so I filmed, and I had mentioned this in another episode actually about my first one. I filmed Collection Tour 2.0. So that's actually on my YouTube channel, Will Foxification.
Oh yeah,
and we can maybe link that in the description of this video or something.
Of course.
And so the reason I'm telling about this video is because there's a funny story that goes with it.
Indeed, there is.
Because, and I prepped Nick a little bit about this. I've kind of learned my lesson not to self-promote on Reddit because it's not the place to do it because it never has gone well for me ever. And I usually post on the Hot Toys subreddit every now and then, and I posted this one, and I put the word "my humble collection" in there, and I guess that was a major mistake because I got some serious backlash for that, and people said I was humble bragging, basically that there was nothing humble about it. And I was just viewing it as I've seen some YouTubers with some collections that are insane and way more detailed than mine. So I was like, okay, well, they've probably seen those, so relatively mine is humble.
Sure.
But I get the idea of it, but like, I've learned my lesson. I've actually kind of stayed away from Reddit a little bit since, because I've just kind of been like, man, kind of turned off from it. But I do understand it to an extent, but I'm kind of like, well, I was just kind of trying to share something I like that's interesting, and it turned into a bad thing.
Yeah, well, I think we talk about this often, and we're going to be talking about it again today. Yeah. It's all perspective, man. Mm-hmm. Like, I'll defend you. And then I'll attack you.
I was going to say thank you, but never mind.
But you know what I mean? In your defense, to the point that you were trying to make, from the collections that you've seen, yours is a humble collection, comparatively speaking.
Right.
But maybe some of these other people that maybe only have one figure or only dream of having, a really nice, and they are super nice, like Hot Toys figures. They're like, holy shit, man, this guy's got like, I don't know, how many do you have? Have you ever counted? Just ballpark.
55.
55.
Maybe, but I don't know for sure. It's not certain.
Let's just say 50.
People
right?
on Reddit seem to count them and let me know. So
yeah, oh my gosh. They're like, this is not humble. You have 47 and a half figures.
Yeah, they told me you were like, there's 50 in the thumbnail. And I was like, okay, well, I didn't know that, but thank you.
Yeah. So from their perspective, it could seem like, oh, it's like a brag thing. But it's always perspective. It just depends on what side you're looking at things from. So I wouldn't get too worked up about it, man.
No, I'm not. I got worked up in the moment, but then after an hour or two, I was like, I'm good. I deleted it, actually. I deleted the post. And so, I just think it's a funny story to tell. So, like I said, Reddit's not the place for self-promotion. Don't post your own videos unless you have maybe a report or your own subreddit or something like that. But generally speaking, don't do it.
Dude, maybe one day we'll have our own subreddit.
That would be great.
What do you think people would post to it?
That's a really good question. Probably some questions that would be really difficult that they could discuss and maybe we could chime in on. Like, what would you do in this situation with my boyfriend or girlfriend? Or, what would happen? What would you do with my boss who's being a jerk to me? Something like that.
Dude, I feel like that would be great. Looking towards the future, we have talked about before, we'd like to live stream some episodes and then maybe at the end do some Q&As. Maybe once a month we would go through like our subreddit and see what people have to say, and hopefully they can have some nice, wholesome things to say.
That'll bring me back to Reddit.
That would be fantastic. But talking about places to post information, we can kind of segue into one of our main topics for today. We kind of want to go over what we're going to consider like social media etiquette, and then just kind of like overall how to view your social media, like business versus pleasure,
right?
And just kind of like how you just your mindset going into it. I'll kind of let you talk about it. I feel like you could intro it maybe a little bit better.
Yeah, I think that was introed pretty well, and that was a beautiful segue.
Hey,
remember last
thanks,
episode you thanked me, or you acknowledged my segue?
Yes.
So that was pretty good. I got to give you
when you're talking about it, I was like, this is my moment. This is my moment.
Don't panic. Don't fail now. But so Nick and I we briefed each other a little bit on this. We didn't go super into detail because we never do, because we'd like to save it for the podcast.
Yes.
But I think we're a little bit at odds on this one. So like we're at least a little bit. I think we're closer maybe than we might think. But this is an interesting topic because I think there's so much that goes into this from a perspective standpoint, like you mentioned.
Sure.
Really, I think what social media has become in our lives, it's really kind of taken the place of, face-to-face interaction and face-to-face dynamics and social circles and groups and things like that.
Oh, yeah.
Cliques, high school groups, the popular table, so to speak. So like, one thing that I think has always been interesting to me, and this has happened in many cases to me and to others. I've done it to people, in moderate amounts, but I kind of try to limit my amounts that I do this. So like if someone unfollows you, how personally should you take that?
Yeah.
And it depends, I think, on how well you know the person, what your relationship is with them. But generally speaking, I think people have a different perspective on this. What is your perspective on it?
Yeah, so there's definitely a few factors that are involved. Once again, I think the business versus pleasure is like a good way to put it. For me, what I try to think about, and once again, me and Will kind of talked about this ahead of time, is I don't want to have any expectations of what somebody should or shouldn't do with their social media. If somebody were to unfollow me and I thought that we were like homies, like, oh, that's my dog right there, and they unfollowed me, I would kind of think about it a couple of ways. So I guess I would kind of maybe go through like a checklist in my head first. First thing being, one, and this is what I think of when we talked about it ahead of time, I haven't made a post on Instagram, for example, in months. So they might be looking at it and be like, Nick's super boring. He doesn't even post on here. Like I'm not going to follow him.
That's fair.
Yeah, you know what I
I'll give
mean?
you that one.
That's like a perspective that I think about. And maybe I think about it more that way because I know my social media presence, at least on my personal Instagram. I don't post that often. Like there's other social media outlets like YouTube, and I actually have like a separate Instagram for like gaming clips and stuff like that, where I'm trying to be a lot more active. But at least as far as my personal one goes, like I don't really post, so I could understand somebody being like, "Why am I following this guy? Like he doesn't even do anything." But so I would kind of think about that first, but then also like take it from the perspective of what they're trying to accomplish. Like, is it just a place where they're trying to have a gathering of all of their friends to keep up with and to catch up with and see like, oh, I wonder what they've got going on in their life. And if that's the case, then I would be like, oh, damn, I guess they don't give a shit about me anymore. Or if it is like a business thing, like, for example, with social media, a lot of it is about branding, right? Like your personal brand. And how seriously do you take your personal brand and what do you want that image to reflect? And for example, I'll give like a devil's advocate view. If, somebody's trying to accomplish something that is like I love fruit. And
I like fruit too.
Dude, I love fruit. So this is going to be an awful example for me. But if they're promoting all things like fruit is the greatest thing, like an apple and orange, holy shit, have you ever tried these? And on my Instagram page, I'm like, I hate apples. You know what I mean? Maybe that's like a conflict.
Right,
In which case I would kind of understand, but it's just so many different angles that you can look at it from.
You absolutely can. And I think you raised an interesting point, though, about conflict. And I think social media has really, just from what I've seen and what I've heard about, it seems to have played, and this is, like I said, I have no evidence to base this stuff on. Basically just my own personal perspective and what I've seen. We can all get in these like ideological echo chambers because
yes, definitely.
Because like exactly what you said, instead of, if there's someone who disagrees with us, instead of, keeping that around, we remove it. So like if someone disagrees with us, especially politically, it doesn't really affect me because I don't post politics. I don't follow politics. I don't like politics. So I don't really like seeing it, but there's plenty of people I follow that do post it and I just scroll past it. But I think like I said, you make a really good point about if people disagree with us, it can be uncomfortable and people don't like it. So they just remove it from their lives. They either unfollow you or they will mute you or whatever the case may be. And then you're only seeing people that agree with your perspective, or that perspective you agree with, right? So it's just a matter of you're around people in your social circle on social media that are all thinking the same, doing the same things. So then when you get exposed to other things, you just don't understand it, or you don't think it's crazy, basically, because you're not seeing it. You're only seeing your group. Your little social group.
Dude, that's a good point. And I guess I didn't think about it till I said something and made you think about it and then made me think about it. But I'll give a personal example I have. Oh my gosh. Yeah, we're good. We're good.
Okay, I just kicked the tripod. For those of you listening to Apple and Spotify, I just moved my leg and kicked the tripod. Yeah. So is the camera okay?
Yeah. I think it's fine.
For those of you on YouTube, I'm so sorry. For
the YouTube users are like, what the hell just happened?
Those of you on Apple and Spotify, was there an earthquake?
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Those of you on Apple, Spotify, you probably heard something, but there you go.
It's all good.
Yeah.
So there's a page on my personal Instagram that I follow that I started following when I I was eating vegan. We've talked about this a few different times, but I ate vegan for a year, and they were posting like a lot of what I thought were like helpful vegan tips. And then throughout my followage with them, they started getting really extreme and posting stuff that I was like not on board with. Okay. However, I did keep following them because to the point that you're saying, I didn't want to just unfollow because I was like, oh, what the hell? Like, I don't agree. But I was interested to see the perspective. And I think it's something that I've done. I haven't gone out of my way to find things that I disagree with to follow them. But I do like looking at it to see like, oh, okay, this is how some people think. Like, this is what some people think about. And I can disagree. But it's almost like I like to stay informed. Type of deal about like how out there some things can be. Yeah.
Well, I don't get into social media arguments or debates at all, ever.
Oh yeah,
I just walk away from it because like I said with the Reddit thing, all I commented was said, when I answered a couple people that I was sorry and I didn't mean to offend anybody, basically. And that was it. And I just moved on from it. People were still commenting saying like blah, 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 and I just ignored it. Same thing on my YouTube channel. I'll get mean comments. If they're like truly mean and not trying to help me in any way, I just move on. I don't respond.
Yeah.
But I think, it's really important to, and I think that's a rare person that goes out seeking other opinions just to make themselves well-rounded. I think that's almost non-existent today.
I mean, like, totally agree.
It exists sometimes, but not as much as we would hope or like. So, But and that can be anything, politics, social stuff, whatever, whatever the case may be.
Mhm.
So it really just depends. But one question I want to ask you,
Yeah.
and I think it's a really, really important one. So how do you feel like when someone unfollows you? Does it just depend on the person, or how do you approach it?
Yeah, so I think this is like a great question to ask, and for our listeners out there that might be suffering from an unfollow,
Yeah.
and they don't really know how to feel about it, I think it really just depends. I don't know that I'm the best. Oh, well, I don't know if I'm the best person to talk about for all platforms because, for example, like with my main Instagram, like if somebody unfollowed me, I would not notice probably. Like I know generally how many followers I have, but it could drop off by like 20, 30, and I'd be like, yeah, that's just how it's always been.
Yeah.
Or it could go up by 20, 30, I'd be like, that's just how it's always been.
It'll be 30,000, and you'd be like, I've always at 30,000.
Yeah. No, I would notice a big spike
gotcha.
one way or another, but I have from like Twitch, like we've talked about it before, I've been streaming a lot lately, and that's like a number that is like more important to me, I'd say, because with followers on Twitch, honestly, followers on anything, like social media status is kind of like worth its weight in gold nowadays because of like promos and ads and stuff like that people can do. But there's like milestones that I want to hit on my Twitch where, for example, if I have X number of followers and I'm like, I'm that much closer to this goal, and then I get on the next day and I notice that a couple people had unfollowed and my number went down, it is kind of a bummer initially. But I do try to, and I don't know if there's a good or a bad way of thinking about it, I do try to minimize it to a number. I think.
Okay.
I think if I had to roundabout talk about it, I do just try to think of my social media status as like a number, and maybe that's like a poor way of thinking about it, but my perspective on it is that it's just social media, and if I do think about it from like, in this instance, it really is a business, and I guess I do a good job of separating business and personal. Some of them are like strictly for a business thing, and although I do truly value and appreciate people that follow me and want to engage with me, like I value that actual engagement far more than I value the number. And I think that somebody that's going to unfollow me, at least in that setting or that scenario, isn't necessarily like worth the time of getting worked up over.
Yeah.
And then I guess to kind of tie it all back personally, if it's something from like a personal Instagram and stuff like that, I would try not to find fault with the person that like unfollowed because, they've got their reasons. And until I speak to them about it, I'll never truly know. I think you would drive yourself crazy trying to figure out why somebody's doing something because you're not in their head. As long as I've got that personal engagement with them, like if it's somebody that I know in real life and I still have that in real life engagement with them, I don't think I would let it bother me too much. If I really wanted to, I guess I could speak to them about it. Or maybe I don't have that engagement with them in real life, and that's part of the reason that they hit that unfollow.
Well, and I think you make a really good point. Like we originally talked about, business and personal are two separate things.
Yeah.
So I'm in the same boat to a degree. So like, I don't really try to put myself too much. I do it maybe the second it happens, the second I find out about it, like why the unfollow happened. If I'm in a business perspective, if I'm on YouTube and I see that I have one less subscriber, I don't think about it because that is a purely business move. Like they are no longer invested in my content. They, for whatever reason, it sucks. I mean, like maybe I need to change something, but it's a business move. It's like me deciding to go shop at Acme instead of Walmart, right?
Yeah.
There's really, I don't take that offensively because I'm like, look, my product maybe is something that they don't not like as much, but other people will. It's different though with personal because personal, if I don't really know the person very well and they unfollow me, okay, move on, whatever. I'll unfollow them too and we're done, right?
Yeah.
That's it. Wipe my hands of it. But if it's someone I know and someone that I'm like friends with, then it becomes something a little bit different. So, and that's where I think things become a little bit more tricky. And this happened to me many times throughout my life, and I've probably done it myself.
Yeah.
Right? So and really there's no guilty party in this. Like no one is at fault here because it's just a matter of perspective. Just for me, I take it and I try not to put myself too much into the idea of like, into the other person's head. What were they thinking? Why did they do this? Why would they do X, Y, Z? Whatever. Like, because I can't control their line of thought. I can't control anything they do, right? So I try not to think about it too much. But it's like, it's almost like an unfollow has replaced kind of like being ostracized from a social group or from that person in real life. So like, if they unfollow you, it almost like it takes, either way I take it at least initially until I'm like over it in like 5 minutes. I'm like...
5 minutes?
Yeah, like it is though. At first I'm like, man, that kind of hurts. It stings a little bit. But then I'm like 5 minutes later, I'm like, all right, now I'm playing piano or I'm doing something, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like not even thinking about it. I'm working on a YouTube video or schoolwork, so whatever. But it's time I'm like, wow, they don't think I'm worth following. That's like how I take it in the first 5 minutes, right? If it's someone I don't know, I don't care, right? If it's someone I do know that I'm friends with, I'm like, oh, that's kind of sucks. I mean, like I thought we were cool, you know what I mean? And it's like, it's really, sometimes it's for reasons, they might have deleted their profile, right?
Yeah, shit, that's a good point.
That happens a lot. And things like that, right? So like sometimes I think we can it's replace, the way I described it as well was like, hey, it's almost like saying like, hey, you're at the cool kids lunch table. Oh, now you're not. Now you're not cool enough.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Can't sit here.
Right. You can't sit here anymore. So you're back on your own thing. And I think it ties into the idea of ratio. So I don't know how you view ratio, but like to me, it just depends. If it's a business thing, I understand why ratio is important. I don't approach things that way, but I'll let you speak on that.
Yeah. So I definitely think the most important ratio is your kill to death ratio.
I had to think about that for a second. I was like,
oh my God.
Yes. In Fortnite, do you have that?
I'm sure there's like some website that tracks it, but it doesn't actively track it like
it's
Call
not
of
on the
Duty or
game?
something
It's not like Call of Duty? Okay.
Nah.
That's
I mean,
weak.
you can find it out because you can see how many games you've played versus how many kills you've gotten.
Okay.
And I guess that's kind of like what it would be because you only die once per game in
Nick
Fortnite.
is our Fortnite expert.
Yeah.
So
God, thank you so much, man. I'm honored
I
to
should
be the
get you a
Fortnite
medal,
guy.
like a Fortnite expert.
Hilarious.
Yes,
dude.
that would be so good.
Hey, I do love Fortnite, and I will go to bat for Fortnite any day of the week.
I've only played it once. So.
Oh, dude, I just love it so much. The way that you feel about Last of Us is how I probably feel about Fortnite.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so anyway, back to
gamer speak aside.
Yes.
So as far as my ratio goes, I don't. Once again, I think I have to separate the two and kind of talk about it. One is business and one is personal.
Yeah.
From a business perspective, it definitely looks better to have a high number of followers and a low number of following.
Why though?
Because it's like a supply and demand thing. When people are
that's a good
following you, it's like the demand is high, but the supply is low. And the thing that I thought about when we kind of briefed each other on this ahead of time is people that have social media status that are higher ranking in the social media world, in that universe. Something that I've seen people do plenty of times is if they want to promo something or another, they can say, oh, like this video or follow, I'm going to be following people back for the next 5 minutes.
Right.
And people will go crazy. They're like, oh my God, it's time to follow.
I got to follow from
somebody
Katy Perry.
cool. Yeah, somebody with a blue check mark might follow me back.
Right.
And it is like is arbitrary the right word? As in like it doesn't really necessarily mean anything. It only holds as much value as you assign to it.
But you said, I mean, and you and I both in agreement, social media does have its weight in gold to an extent.
Yes. So once again, tying back to the business versus personal.
There you go.
So if you're a business person, once again, you want to kind of give that appeal that there's much more demand for me than there is supply. Because there are people, and I've been guilty of it before too, trying to build Instagram pages. Like, I'm not going to front like, oh, everybody just wants to follow me.
Right.
But no, like where you'll go out and you kind of got to market yourself and, follow some people, see if they want to follow you back, see if there's some mutual interest. And I've had pages that I've tried to build, just random pages, not my personal one, where I'll go out and I'll try to follow people that I believe would be interested in the page or the product that I have available.
Right.
But then if I have 37 followers and I'm following 1,000 people, a prospective person might look at that and be like, nah.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because clearly, at least at that time, and social media is weird about this type of stuff because it doesn't necessarily mean that the product or service, whatever it may be, that you have available through your social media business isn't of quality. It could just be brand new, but it's hard to break through when you only have 7 people following you, right? So you try to do these things to get up, and then you immediately like remove your following numbers to try to make it look like you've got a better ratio.
It just seems so. I don't know. I don't like that, but I do understand it, and I understand that 99% of businesses do that.
Yeah, it's
celebrities, social media, whatever. They all do it.
Yeah, whether you're literally a business or if you're like a personal brand is your business,
like an actor. Yeah,
exactly. It's important, and I know from studying this type of stuff and like researching it.
You were a business major.
Yeah, marketing. Shout out.
Yeah.
But companies will reach out, and depending on what your reach is to people. So if you have 50,000 followers and you have X amount of impressions, the price of what they'd be willing to pay you to put an advertisement on your page or to shout something out is going to vary because of that. So from a business perspective, you always want to make it look as good as possible, right?
Right, and I totally understand that.
And then if we go to go ahead. Let's just talk about business first, and then we can go to personal, maybe.
Yeah, because I think to me, I totally get that, and I see why everyone does it. To me, it just feels so icky. It feels like so impersonable.
No, I get it. Trust me, I get it.
Is that a word? Impersonable? I know personable, impersonable, the anti-personable.
Yeah,
whatever. That's what it feels like to me. So that's what it feels like to me because, and I don't like, but I think that's just a me thing. I think it's just I think I'm probably a little bit rare in that way because most people don't think of it that intently. But I just think I'm way more focused on the building the relationships thing, and like I feel like that's so deflating to a person to be like, you know what, you're not worth it. So you know what I mean? Like I don't like that. So like, but I think part of it is too kind of like Nick and I discussed this a little bit briefly before we started.
Mm-hmm.
So like my social media, like my Instagram, my Twitter, are merged into one. So Will Foxwell is Will Foxification. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They are the same. So, and that's why I don't approach it so business-like. I have a combination of both things. I'll post my dogs. I'll post my YouTube stuff. I'll post other stuff, and I mix the two. So, but like you said, if you have your own business page, like if I just had a Will Foxification page, it might be different. But
Dude, I think you have like a good moral compass, like thinking and feeling that way. Yeah. And I think that is like a nice way to think about it. And honestly, like that's something that I would like to strive to be able to do, to be able to be.
Well, I want to be empathetic. I want the person to feel valued.
Yeah. And what I'll say I feel like I gotta slightly have to defend myself now.
No, I'm not attacking you.
I know.
Okay. Yeah. I don't mean to come across that way at all. I'm no judgment on anyone who does that. It's a matter of perspective. I disagree because I do things differently, but there's no right and wrong.
Yeah. Once again, it's a perspective thing, and without being in people's minds. And the reason I'm joking, saying I have to defend myself, but I
just didn't want you to feel it.
Yeah. But to expand on the point that I'm trying to make, when I am going through and following stuff like that, that is purely like a business thing. But as far as like my quote unquote brand would go, I want to get personal with people, and like part of like Twitch streaming and stuff like that is, I mean, you interact with your chat. That's like kind of like the whole purpose. Like, yeah, you're playing a video game, or, you know, there's various things that you can do like live streaming, but the whole point is to entertain an audience live, right? It's almost like to a weirder degree doing like stand-up comedy, or, you know what I mean, being in a play. You know, there's a live audience in front of you, and depending on how well you do, depends on how many people are there, right? But regardless, you want to be able to engage with those people. Those people there, and in the process of getting those people there, maybe slightly differ for me, right? So I'm willing to go through and maybe like follow some people and try to like get some people on board to get that foot in the door. And that's when I would say I turn it over personally to try to make it more like, hey, you know what I mean? Like, thank you for coming by. Like, I do really appreciate it. Like, I want to make this like a good product for you. Did you enjoy it? That type of thing, where I want to make it more personal. However, I am going to have like a drive that I want to go get those people. And I will say that I'm willing to do things that maybe personal Nick wouldn't necessarily be cool with, but business side Nick, like I'm willing to like hit that switch and then just like try to go be a go-getter and go get it.
And I think I am, like I said, probably abnormal. And I think I'm not expecting a lot of people to agree with me on this because, and I just don't think that's how most people view it. But like, it just feels so, I don't know, it feels so icky to me. And I understand it completely from a business perspective. Same way with like celebrities, right? And maybe that's because that is their social circle. But like the celebrities say, like, you know, the big celebrities might follow 100 people, right? Yep. And they're all blue check mark people, right? Very rarely we find someone who doesn't have a blue check mark, and you know, from a celebrity like that Katy Perry's following, right? Or The Rock or something, right? And I don't know, Disney examples. They might be following a ton of people that don't, but just most celebrities, that's probably what you're gonna see. And it feels, I don't know. But if that's their social circle and that's the people they know and they interact with, that's an entirely different conversation.
Yeah.
But like if they just don't really follow anyone that's not official because it's bad for their brand, like that's where it feels icky to me. Like I don't like that because like, I don't know. It just feels so, like I said, anti-personable. Like to me, it just feels, you know, like that it becomes something else entirely that I don't know. I just can't identify with it. And that's where it becomes a little problematic for me. But like I said, no judgment. Everyone else can do their own thing. Everyone can do what they want. Just for me, but the way I approach my YouTube channel, and I can't follow everyone back, right?
Yeah.
Because I don't know everyone. But if someone follows me that I know from YouTube, and I'm like, oh, that guy or that girl is cool, and he or she has always been cool, so I'll follow them back. Because I'll be like, okay, they have something interesting to say. Like, I think I view it as a glass half full approach. Like that person has something interesting to say that maybe I would like. If they don't, maybe I will unfollow them. Yeah. Right. But, you know, at least give them a chance. I'm not going to like completely dismiss them based on their check mark.
Yeah.
Or lack thereof.
Yeah, I think that's a really nice way of thinking about it. You're giving them a chance. And if you have something that I enjoy, sure, I'd love to follow something that I enjoy.
Right.
But if you don't, then yeah, I'm not gonna.
I totally get that. I agree.
Dude, and so, while you were talking, it made me think of a couple other things. I'm gonna defend the like real popular pages real quick, just to give like a perspective on the people, the super popular people that are voiceless during our podcast.
Yeah, they're voiceless.
I would say that some of those people is probably they're not even managing their own social media.
You got a good
You know
point.
what I mean?
Yep,
and there's like a marketing team that is driving that beast that is person
their
X.
brand. Yep.
Exactly. And that's why that they, they're only following blue check marks because they want to have this influence. And I'll defend them on another aspect is I can only imagine, although we are super cool and very, very popular, clearly.
Yes.
We are not A-list celebrities, right? We're not even B or C.
We have
won't
9
talk about
subscribers and climbing.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
On YouTube.
When you put it like that, maybe A.
Yeah. Double A.
Yeah, double A. We are the top of the food chain.
Yes.
But these people too, because they're around so many people that want a piece of them all the time.
Yeah, right.
Maybe they just, if they are getting on social media and it is their own social media, maybe they just want to clear their mind of that kind of stuff.
You make a really good point.
You know
I'm being a little bit persuaded by that.
Yeah, they just want to say, holy shit, like I can't handle this. And if it's not somebody that is like really near and dear to me, because there is levels of the shit. There's always levels to shit, guys. There's always levels. You can have your like extremely close, like your literal family, right?
Yeah.
Or maybe like a really good friend or two, right? And then you have your, like your friend circle, then your acquaintances circle, and then your friends of a friends, like all that type of stuff. And maybe at a certain layer of that, like you start to cut people off.
Right.
I think.
And I don't want to sound ignorant on it. Like I don't understand, I don't know their lives and everything. And they may have some reason for doing it that I just don't know. So it's just the outside looking at perspective. That's all.
Definitely. And then, but to the point that we were kind of talking about ahead of time, I think we are kind of getting like outlier-ish because that is like the 1% of the 1%.
Right.
There are people that, are maybe more in our social bracket, should we call it, you know what I mean? Where maybe this would be more applicable to. And I guess to kind of like come back down to that area, I don't know, my roundabout advice for people is figure out why you're using social media.
Right.
Like, is it strictly for a personal thing? Are you just looking to, is it a way to catch up with friends? Something that it just came into my head that I really enjoyed, mutual friend of ours, Jamie. Hit me up.
Shout out to Jamie.
This is years ago when I was making just regular like YouTube just vlogs and stuff like that. Jamie hit me up one day and he's like, bro, I love watching your vlogs because it's kind of like a way to catch up with a pal that I haven't seen in a while.
That's great.
And, to a degree, that's what Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook, or any of those types of things are. It's like, hey, I'm busy now. I'm an adult. I don't have time to hang out with you every day, every week, maybe even once a year. Things happen, right? Like you've got obligations at all these other places, and maybe it just doesn't happen. But you can, for those 5 to 10 minutes you're sitting on the toilet, scroll through and be like, oh, that's really cool. Like, oh, I didn't know they got a new car. That's awesome.
One thing, though, I do want to circle back to, I think you made a really good point about the celebrity thing that kind of persuaded me a little bit. I think you made like social circle thing. I think too, celebrities, I think all of us like to be around like-minded people, right?
Yeah.
To an extent. So like if other celebrities seeing what they're doing motivates you, that's an angle I think that's interesting that you touched on.
Oh, yeah.
So like you want to follow only blue check marks because they're motivating you to be better, to stay on your game, to promote your brand, right?
Sure.
Because you're being around like-minded people. And actors tend to date actors, same kind of deal, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I from that perspective, I think you make a really good point because I think,
thanks.
we talk about, following someone that has some kind of value to you, something you like seeing or that you're interested in. And the actors, they work in that profession, or musicians, they work in that profession. They're all entertainers, right? So they like to see other entertainers and other pieces of art, right? So in that sense, I think you make a really good point. And I do agree with you. And I think you swayed me a little bit to not be so close-minded in that sense. To try to understand why they're doing it. And I think I've been thinking of it more so as their brand. And that feels icky to me, but I think when I look at it as maybe they're getting some value from those people, that's different.
Yeah, well, dude, you're not the only person that hears that like brand thing and it makes you go like, ugh.
Yeah, right.
Like I've heard that on more than one occasion where some people hate the idea of like, oh, you're a brand. Will is a brand. That doesn't even make sense. Coca-Cola is a brand.
It's almost like you take yourself so seriously.
Yeah, dude. And I totally get it. Like, I'm just trying to embrace it because that's the way I see the culture like shifting to.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be such a boomer that I'm like, I don't have a brand. You know what I mean? It's just saying like you as a person. I feel like it's just more so the lingo
right.
of what you do.
And I think just to wrap things up on this topic, 'cause I do think we got to move on to our next one.
Yeah, sure.
But I think basically to me, personal is different. But, I think one thing I need to work on too, and I'm all about self-improvement, is, when someone unfollows you, don't take it personally. Don't think about it. Just like I said, it's 5 minutes for me and I'm over it. But like, don't even worry about that 5 minutes. They unfollow me, I unfollow them back. You know what I mean? That's fine. Move on and be done with them. Okay, whatever. Don't even think about it anymore. I need to work on that myself. So, and I think that's something we could all probably do, not to take it too personally. But it just feels a little bit like, man, they really don't care. It feels like they don't care what you have to say anymore. But that's really not always the case because we can't put ourselves in their mind.
I want to maybe flip-flop role reverse for my little wrap-up on this topic.
Okay.
Maybe do take it personally and step up your game. You know what I mean? Like if you
that's an interesting way to look at it.
Because like I'm
relating
relating it back to
though.
myself. Yeah, but even for me as my personal IG, like I don't ever post there. And if everybody started unfollowing me, and I have definitely unfollowed people in the past because I'm like, I like you, but why you don't do anything on Instagram? Me following you on Instagram is just for the sake of me saying I follow you on Instagram.
I will do that. If someone hasn't posted in like a year or two, I will do that.
Yeah, so for me, that's more so what I'm speaking to. Like if people start unfollowing me, watch after this episode comes out, people are like, oh fuck yeah, Nick gave me the green light.
I got my
See you
phone right
later.
here.
Yeah, exactly. Then for me, it's like, oh shit, maybe I should be social on my social media a little bit more.
That's a good point.
But
make a good point.
All things to transition to our next topic, self-improvement, right? You got to spend time working on the things that you want to be good at.
Yes, and segue.
Dude,
you're becoming a master of the segue.
I decided today that I would be the segue guy, at least for episode 9.
You're the Paul Blart of segues.
God, the compliments, just keep them rolling, please.
That's what it's called, right? Isn't it called a Segway? Like that they ride around on in the mall, like and stuff.
Oh my!
That's what I'm saying. I dropped some knowledge.
I didn't even catch the reference, dude.
Oh my god!
I just felt the good energy. I was like, wow, this feels so nice. But
and
dude,
you just went with it. You had no idea.
Dude, yes, sometimes that happens.
That's what I was trying to drop like a. I don't even know what it's called, but it was some knowledge right there.
Dude, no, that was great. That was like it was a really good metaphor.
There you go, metaphor.
Okay.
That's the word.
Dude,
words are hard. I don't understand
Paul
them.
Blart of segues. Holy shit, dude. Touche.
That right off the top of my head.
Dude.
Remember we talked about, do you rehearse your jokes before you go on a date? And I always say, no, I come up with off the top of my head. Dude. There you go. See, there's that skill.
This guy, he's got that improv skill right there.
I could never do improv comedy, though. That would be way too hard. I'd be like, and I just wouldn't be able to do it.
But if you did want to do improv comedy, you would just need to spend time working on it.
Oh, my God. Two segues in one.
Yes. Yeah, I don't know if we introed this episode super good. I feel like we just kind of jumped into it, but this was...
We did.
Yeah, we're here now, guys. We're here now. If you're still listening to us X amount of minutes in, like I'm sure you're enjoying what's going on.
Yeah.
But the couple things that we want to talk about were the social media, and then also just working on self-improvement and spending time working on things. And I'll start with kind of like my overlying point, or at least how I feel about it prior to our conversation, is you're always going to be the worst at something the first time you do it. You 100%. You never do something 10 times and you're way worse at it than when you first started. So for anybody out there that does have a goal of, maybe it is improving your social media, maybe it is doing stand-up comedy, maybe it's learning piano, maybe it's skateboarding or something like that. Don't let other people that you see that are maybe better than you at it discourage you from going out and do your thing and just trying your best overall.
Right.
Because it does take practice to get good at things. I don't think that there's too many people that are born like a prodigy. I don't think everybody that's in every profession doing everything creative just was born and they were like, I am the best painter alive. Like, I'm so ready to paint.
Right.
No, they worked on their craft and they honed their skills and they got really good at it. And if you want to try to pursue something like that, I just want to be here to encourage you to go try that thing.
Have you ever heard of the 10,000 hours rule?
Maybe if you expand on it.
So the 10,000 hours rule is basically saying you have to practice something 10,000 hours to become a master or really good at it, basically.
Interesting.
That's the rule that science has promoted. 10,000 hours of practice to become an expert at that thing.
Oh, that's
a lot.
That's a large number.
That's a lot. That's a really large number. So, but you make a really good point because one thing I want to share too is when because we worked at PacSun, right?
Indeed, we did.
I had the emo haircut. Maybe we can edit a picture in. I'll give you a picture on AirDrop. And it magically appears.
Yes,
emo Will is here. But
you worked on that hairstyle for 10,000 hours?
Yeah, all the time. Dude, I used to straighten my hair.
Okay.
You knew that, didn't you?
Yeah. I used to blow dry my hair all the time.
Did you?
I never straightened, but I would blow dry the shit out of my hair when I had long hair.
Yeah, I used to straighten it and I wore the beanie and everything.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was straightened. But my larger point, not to straighten hair.
That wasn't the point?
I didn't straighten my hair for 10,000 hours, that's for sure. But now I have no hair, so it's a win-win. But so basically my point is this. I started playing music when I was 19, basically. I started playing bass beforehand, but I never really took it that seriously. I was okay at it. But when I turned 19, I was like, I'm going to learn guitar and piano.
Yeah.
And I took that so seriously. I told you, I practice 2 hours of piano a day and an hour of guitar a day, every single day, if not more sometimes. So, and you know what you have to deal with too? Because like you said, you make a really good point. Rarely are you going to find someone that just picks up an instrument and they can play, right? Or at least have a good sense of rhythm or an ear, so forth, right?
Yep.
Very rarely. So, but there are people like myself. I'm not the most talented natural musician, but I spent a lot of time at it so I could get pretty decent at it. So, and with you, like I said, when I first started out, right?
Yeah.
You're going to suck. I mean, you just have to deal with it. So, like, I was playing guitar and we had friends over at the house and stuff because they were always over just playing Warcraft and whatever.
I thought you were going to say playing guitar.
No. That was me. But so I would sit in the living room and I was like just starting out, so I wasn't very good. And I remember one instance in specifically, and this happened maybe a few times, where I was just playing and I wasn't very good and I was trying to learn a song, so it was just struggles, right? Yeah. So they were like, and a friend put his headphones on. He was like, "Sorry, man," and like basically, I just suck, right? And he doesn't want to listen to it.
I don't want to listen to this.
So right, so basically, like, and that was kind of stuck with me, and that motivated me.
Yeah.
Because then I was like, you know what? I don't want to feel like I suck at something, but you're gonna have to feel like that because you have to spend in the time, and the more time you put into it, the faster you're gonna not have to feel that anymore. Because like I got pretty good actually within like 6 months. Like my teachers said I made so much progress because I put in the time. I was not like Mozart. I'm not that most talented of a musician. I can just learn things because I put so much time into it.
Yeah. I think if you value something and you are willing to put in the time, and it makes it easier if it's something that you like. And I do want to make kind of like a roundabout point here in a second.
Yeah.
But if it's something that you like and you do want to invest the time, I think you'll see your growth move a lot quicker than if it's something that you're like, ooh, I don't want to do, but like I've got to do it.
Right. You won't do it then.
Yeah. For example, like work or school or something like that. I know a lot of people are like, oh, it's a drag to go to work or it's a drag to go to school. Well, if that's how you feel about it and you're like not really investing time into doing something like that, it's going to feel shittier a lot longer because you're not going to be good at it. And nobody likes doing things that they're not good at.
Right.
So I guess let me make a couple points real quick. Also spend the time getting good at practicing. You know what I mean? Spend the time to say like, hey, I know I'm not going to be awesome at this, but I'm willing to put in the hours, those foundation hours, to make sure that I do have some sort of base to stand on, so that I can get, motivated when I want to go do these things. And I think it's just like a mental approach that you can take in your life in general, is knowing that, hey, the first time I do anything, I'm not going to be that great at it, but if I work at it and I do invest my time, like I don't dilly-dally. Like, for example, with your music, if you were like, okay, I want to learn how to play guitar, but you kind of picked up the guitar and maybe watched a YouTube video and then played a couple strings and you're like, man, I suck at this, and put it down after every 15 minutes, it's going to take you forever to get good. And before you get good, you're going to be so unmotivated that you're still trash that you're going to be like, yeah, I'm never going to learn this.
Right.
But you were dedicated to it. You put in the time.
I took lessons for piano and guitar, and I paid for them all myself because I really wanted to learn. I wanted to do it the right way.
Dude, that's a good way to keep you honest, is to invest in yourself. You know what I mean? Invest in yourself, invest in your time. It does kind of make you accountable to yourself and to whatever that craft may be, so that you can get good at it, or you just wasted not only time, but money as well.
I mean, when you say that, because Nick actually, I don't know if we've told you guys before, but Nick was a really good baseball player, and you played on Colonel, which was,
thanks, man.
Yeah, and Colonel was always kick ass. I mean, Colonel was always like the best team around for the most part. You guys had that rapport. You always played together for a long time. I mean, how many hours do you think you put into baseball?
Dude, that's a good point. I didn't even think about that ahead of time. But that is like a very literal example. So we played ball like, from the time that we were children, from T-ball all the way on. And then because I think there's like one of two ways that maybe you go about this. There's maybe things that you really like that you want to pursue. And then there's things that maybe you find that you're good at. Right? Which there's definitely things that everybody's kind of naturally good at that they gravitate towards. At the time, baseball for me and my teammates was just something that we were all pretty good at. So we enjoyed doing it. So going out and spending an extra hour after practice or something like that was no big deal because we liked playing baseball.
Yeah.
We liked hitting bombs. You know what I mean? Like I want to stick around and hit some more home runs, or, I like practice throwing or fielding or whatever it may be. But yeah, we definitely put in time and relating it to the team sport aspect, like spending time with your teammates and everything like that, definitely goes in and it helps you just be more prepared for situations, I guess I'm going to steer this maybe more towards like the specific example of
go for it.
baseball.
Go for it.
But, you know, when you practice certain situations consistently, you can get good or at least better. You can improve by having been through experiences more. I think that's why, like, you know, parents and grandparents are so wise, man. They've seen so much more life. They have, by default, just spent more time doing stuff, doing things. So they kind of know how that stuff shakes out. And same thing, whether you're doing a team sport or whether you're playing, you know, guitar or something like that, you know exactly what chords come one after another with probably not even having to think about it. Yeah. Whereas when you first start off, you've got to be like, you like look down at the strings and shit, and you're like, where are my hands supposed to be?
Muscle memory, man.
Exactly. So the more you do things, just the more muscle memory that you gain and you improve on what you're doing. And then you can learn more advanced things. And that's when you really become like, quote unquote, good at something. Yeah. When you, like I said, when you get that foundation, you master the basics, and then you can just keep powering through and taking it as high as your motivation will carry it.
Right. And I think, honestly, it's the same way with creating videos, creating YouTube content, right? Like, if we look back at our old videos, like my first video, I can't even watch my old videos anymore.
Dude.
Because I watch them and I'm like, man, this is not nearly as good as what it's become, because I've evolved and grown, taken feedback into consideration, you know, things like that, right?
Yeah.
Like, you're not going to be amazing at something right away. That's very rare. It does happen sometimes because everyone has some sort of skill that they're just probably pretty good at.
Yep.
But it just depends. And I'm really like, that's a rarity. So it's the exception more so than it is the rule.
Definitely. And just because you're not that person doesn't mean you can't get as good as that person.
100%.
If you put in the time. And kind of going back to our social media point, man, like follow those people that you view as better, that you view as creative, that you view as really good at these type of things.
Yep.
And, you know, they say imitation is the finest form of flattery, right?
Yep.
Like, find those things that you like out of different people that are doing this task or this skill that you want to be able to do for yourself. And how they go about it, and, you know, put those things into practice for yourself and strive to get to that level. I think that's a totally cool way of going about things.
You got to find the people and the artist, whatever, that motivates you to become invested and to create your own thing. So like a lot of, I followed when I was in that phase, and I still do. I follow a lot of musical artists that I really like their music.
Yeah.
And they inspire me. Owl City was a really big one for me.
Yeah, dude. I probably could have like referenced that for you.
Yeah, because Owl City was always a really big one for me. And I have it around here somewhere. I have an Owl City sheet music book where I learned a lot of the songs in that book. Fireflies in particular, because that's his biggest one. But his music was like, he plays all the instruments himself.
Yeah.
So like that was something that the Rocket Summer is another band, a one-man band, Bryce Avery. So him and Adam Young from Owl City are both two guys that really inspire me. I never sang myself, but I did play all the instruments. So like, and I wanted to do that because those guys were so inspiring to me.
Yeah.
And just finding those people and following them and following what they do and seeing how they do things. They would sometimes do behind the scenes where they showed certain stuff, and I wanted to learn how I'm like, oh, they put that song together really cool. That's interesting how he did that. And then I would learn from that. So like finding those people that can motivate you to be better and, put more time into your craft.
Yeah, 100%, man. You're only going to go as far as you're willing to put in the effort at the end of the day. So if you guys are out there and you are considering, I guess how I'd like to wrap this up, and how we doing on time?
We're pretty good. We're about a little under 50 minutes.
Okay.
We could probably hit one more topic.
Okay. Well, so at least to wrap up this topic, what I'd like to say is, if you guys are interested in doing something, put in the time, put in the effort, and you'll find out very quickly if you actually like what you're doing.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because it takes some sort of like personal morale to get you through those bad periods. And you'll find out if you're like, for example, I want to play guitar. Like, Will grinded it out. There was a brief period of time where I was like, I want to play guitar. And I was like, I honestly must not want to play guitar this bad, because I didn't want to spend my time doing it. But there are other things that I've pursued that I'm like, yeah, I enjoy doing this. Like, I want to spend the time, even like during my like poor phases of it. And then when you see improvement and when you get a little bit better, it gets easier. It seems more natural.
So rewarding when you get
That's
good.
the perfect word for it, dude. It's very rewarding. And in the meantime, find those motivational things. Find those people that inspire you, that can help you get through it. And hopefully, me and Will can inspire you to take that leap to maybe start something new.
In anything in life, put in the time and you'll be rewarded.
100%, dude.
Put in
100%.
the work, put in the time, you will be rewarded.
Yep.
That's just how it goes. Of course, there are exceptions to that, but generally speaking, that is the rule. And that's the rule I think all of us try to follow to some extent. But you got to find something you like. Because if you don't like it, you're not going to do it. So
Yeah, seriously.
it's kind of like, the parents that force their kids to play piano or force their kids to do whatever. And sometimes they get really, really good at it because they have that regimented. But they don't always love it. And then when they get older, they might not play as much because they have negative memories of that.
Dude.
Right? With me, I came onto it as a late bloomer at 19. No one forced me to do anything. I did it all myself. And then, took lessons and learned from some really, really great teachers and taught me some great things. And, it just helped me kind of move along. And like I said, I feel rewarded. I'm not the greatest piano player or the guitar player in the world, but I can do enough where I feel like, man, this is cool that I learned this.
Dude,
I feel proud of it and rewarded.
Yeah, I want to toss in something real quick. Another perspective thing.
Go for it.
Because you brought up a great point. And it's funny that you say, like, I wasn't one of those kids that my parents, like, made me play piano. I kind of wish I was.
Okay.
Because, and I have a loop back point, too. But I wish I could play instruments better, and I feel like I needed that push.
Yeah.
So sadly, I'm not musically inclined.
So you think you're a good rapper.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I can write, and that's like a skill in itself. But as far as like playing instruments goes,
okay,
you know what I mean?
Well,
I've never been that great.
Yeah, but you can definitely learn because I was never that great
for
either
sure.
until I put in the time.
It's just one of those things where it's like I'm not motivated enough to make it through the poor periods.
So,
but if I wanted to the point we're making, I just got to put in the time. But to maybe like the person out there that's like, I really freaking hate piano now, and it's because my parents made me go play piano all the time when I didn't want to. Maybe a positive spin on this is maybe you learned some regiment. Maybe you practiced some regiment, and that's something that, dude, I found like later in life. Yeah, dude, just having like a good discipline and like a good like schedule to things and being able to plan things out is like a huge help. Right. So maybe there's some positive in there.
So what you're saying is basically if we have kids at some point, if we each have our own families, then we're gonna make our kids play piano or play guitar or something.
Yeah, see, and I don't think I'm saying that. I think I would definitely I think about parent things, like, I'm not going to say all the time, but like every now and again, I'm like, how would I handle this situation? Because we have friends that have children, right? We're of that age where, it's not unusual to have children. Like we talked about last episode, we don't, and we have our own reasons. However, I do think about those things from time to time, and I think ultimately what I would do is just inform my child, and maybe their tiny child brain couldn't handle the information I'm trying to bestow upon them. Tiny child brain. I would try, at least in my head, this is how it would go down. I'd say, hey, would you like to do this? Yeah. It might be really tough, but I can tell you from my perspective, it's something that I wish I would have done. Would you like to try? And if they go, F that, I'll be like, all right, whatever.
Yeah. Gotcha. Okay, so I think that pretty much wraps up that topic. Yeah. Any more thoughts on that, or is that pretty much everything?
I'm thought it out.
Okay, gotcha. So, and I think our final topic, is it a collection topic?
Yeah, let's do it, dude.
It's a collection topic.
We got to wrap it up with little collection deets.
We do. We always try to throw in, that's my imprint, my stamp on Will and Nick Save the World. I'm saving the world through collectibles.
Yes, and I love collections as well. Not that we don't collect the same things, but we both have an appreciation for a solid collection.
I want to take credit for this.
Oh, sure.
I want to take some credit for your Funko Pop addiction.
Okay.
Because I feel like I influenced you at least a little bit.
I'm actually glad that you brought that up, because I'm sure there's been some subliminal thoughts going through my head, because I come over here every week. I see Will on his IG posting like all the cool new shit that he gets. And every time we talk about it, I'm like, man, that shit's really cool. And mine is definitely a lower grade, like downscale, but it's the things that I like. You know what I mean? Right. It's the things that I enjoy, and I like looking at my little beady-eyed pops, and I go, wow, those are so cute.
I love the pops, and because Nick had told me before we started, he's like, man, I'm getting some new pops, and I sent him like a display thing. I'm like, you got to display your pops this way, and he was like, I got to get that pop in that photo. So it was Jake from Adventure Time.
Yeah, shout out Adventure Time, dude.
It's
great cartoon.
A good show, man. Such a good show. But so. My little collection update is I told Nick, so Nick was like, oh my God, why'd you do that? I sold my Toys Era Joker, so it's a third-party license of the Joaquin Joker, right? So I liked it, but I was like, I like it, but I don't know if I love it, right? But and that was a big reason. One of the other reasons is I'm looking at this new collectible.
Yes.
Right? And I told you about this.
Yes.
I don't know if you've watched the show, but I'm on a little bit of a Game of Thrones kick right now. So I'm on the Game of Thrones kick. And there's this item made by 3-0 who has a Game of Thrones license for 1/6 collectibles.
Okay.
And Drogon, the dragon.
I have no idea who that is.
He is Daenerys' biggest dragon.
Daenerys. Who's Daenerys?
Daenerys Targaryen, the blonde hair girl played by Emilia Clarke. She's like, she has the dragons. Have you seen her with the dragons?
Yeah, I haven't seen any Game of Thrones.
Okay. Well,
I didn't take this ahead of time, but I really don't know who
She
any
is
of
like
these people
going for
are.
the throne, basically, and she has 3 dragons.
Okay. I mean, I like dragons.
Yeah, she's the mother of the dragons. She birthed
I've
them,
heard
basically.
that. Yeah, I've heard Mother of Dragons.
Yeah, that's her. So, and she's the
She
one
births
dragon.
dragons.
She did.
Imagine, dude.
She did. Well, you didn't like.
Do they come
see
out
it
as
that-
eggs or do they come out as
I
dragons?
thought you were gonna say something else. I thought you were gonna say something else. Did they? Okay, but they did come out. They did have eggs. Yeah, and then they hatched. I'm pretty sure.
So she births an egg. And
No.
then the egg turns into a dragon.
I don't know how to explain it. I'm not explaining it well.
right,
Basically,
all right.
she's in like a fire, and then she can't be burnt, and then she comes out of the fire, and she has 3 dragons on her.
So did she birth them or she found dragon eggs?
No, she birthed them. They're her dragons. It's hard to explain. I don't
Do they
wanna
look
spoil
like
it for
her?
you. No, they don't have her DNA. They don't. I'm like, that dragon Viserion really does look like Daenerys. I see the resemblance.
He really got her mother's sass.
Yeah, they do. So no. Okay, we got really sidetracked.
Yeah, sorry.
It's okay. I love it. But so anyway, Drogon is a dragon in Game of Thrones.
Okay.
And I'm trying to describe it the best way I can.
Yeah.
Here. But
Beginner's
basically-
guide right here.
So it's a 1/6 scale collectible, but Drogon's pretty big. So it's 17 inches tall, about 24 inches wide. So
Okay.
a pretty big item, right? For a scale perspective, the Infinity Gauntlet is 27 inches high. So
Okay.
it's 10 inches shorter.
Okay.
But pretty wide.
Sure.
Definitely wider. And it's about the size of the Thanos figure that you just saw.
Yes.
Every time Nick comes in, by the way, I show him the collection. I'm like, oh, look at this, dude. I just
Yeah.
got this. So, and I just got Endgame Thanos. So he's pretty legit. So it's about
Very
that size,
legit.
but definitely a lot wider than Thanos.
Okay.
Because he has wings, right?
Yeah.
So this collectible is pretty expensive, and at the time I commented about this when it was announced because it's $1,500. But I found it for cheaper price. I got a coupon and I can find it for cheaper, but about $1,400. Right?
Okay.
So it's definitely something.
Sure.
The thing is, but I just sold Joker, right? My thing is, I didn't really want it at the time. It looks amazing, but it is definitely overpriced. Definitely overpriced. But the thing is, what changed my mind a little bit on this is since it's so overpriced and not that many people are buying it because it's overpriced,
Yep.
they limited the edition size to 144 pieces, meaning only 144 Drogons are being made.
Dude. And
So that increases the value.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And that's where I agree with you making the purchase. Once again, as a collector of things.
Yes.
And I've thought about this with like sneakers and streetwear before. There might be something where I'm like, damn, that's kind of expensive. I don't want to pay that for it.
Right.
But I think to myself, if I don't pay that now, if I want to get it later, I'm going to
Right.
be paying more than
You're
that.
gonna
So I
pay
might as
double,
well just
probably.
bite the bullet, and pay what it is now so that I don't have to end up paying more for it later.
And one thing you have to think about too with these collectibles is the license is controlled by that company.
Okay.
So like 3-0 has the Game of Thrones license. So with that, no one else can make a authorized licensed Drogon but them. So like there's another custom one and some other custom ones people have made that are really good, but they're not licensed.
Sure.
So as a collector, I always want that licensed authentic prop.
So you're telling me you want the prop with the blue check?
Dude, throw me under the bus right there. My life is all about the blue check now.
He's been converted.
I've been converted. Nick has called me out for being a hypocrite because you're right. I'm a hypocrite at this point.
I'm not calling you out for being a hypocrite. It was just a joke, and I saw the opportunity, so I had to slide it in there.
But 100%, I'm all about the license props. I like the license, like the authenticity.
Sure.
So, but good point. You make a valid point there. Make a valid point there, bud. But yeah, so I'm thinking about getting this, but I'm not sure. So, and one thing too is I think about if I can review this.
Oh, man.
There's no
yes.
YouTube videos for it.
Dude.
So people are going to want to see what it looks like when people actually have it. So like if I get one, I feel like I can review it and do a nice review, but I'm not going to move it around a lot because it's not the kind of piece you want to move around in different spots.
Sure.
So I'm probably just going to be a live take, show some angles and so forth. But I'm really thinking about getting it, and I'm going to be broke, but might be worth it.
Dude, it definitely could be. That when you bring up the doing a review on it, I feel like you have to get it. If there's only 144 of them,
Yeah.
what are the chances that of those 144 people that somebody's going to make a review, and more so that's going to make a review better than you could / with the platform that you already have?
Right. So that's the biggest thing. And I thought about that. I'm like, man, I could definitely review this piece. I'm going to review the Pennywise. They're only making 500 of the Pennywise.
Dude, also,
So-
you got to do it.
Yeah, so the Pennywise I'm definitely going to review as well. But anyway, that's my collection thing. Nick, though, so let me know in the comments about Drogon. Let me think. We can maybe post a photo of him.
Yeah. There he is.
Drogon, and there he is. So he's a pretty big item, and I got the space for him, so I'll make it work.
Oh yeah.
But so let us know in the comments whether you guys think I'm crazy, whether you think I should do it, whether I think I should review it, whatever you think.
Yeah, 100%.
So, and Nick, though, you told me, though, before we wrap up here, because I want to talk about your Funko Pops one last time.
Yeah.
You told me how many you have now? 15, 14?
Roughly, I'd say 15.
Okay.
Hold on.
I
just can't talk.
It's okay. I'll
black
talk
screen.
about it.
Yeah, you
Nick,
talk.
Nick has about 15 pops, he was telling me. And like I said, I want to take credit for his addiction that is growing in scale. And I love that. And I want to take full credit for ruining your life.
Oh, God. Hey, dude, it's not ruining my life with any collection
Financial
thing.
life.
Yeah. It can definitely, dude, it'll make you think. It's like, can I spend this? And like pops are relatively inexpensive comparatively. Right. $10, $12. Maybe you can get them on sale. Buy two, get one free. But now I am falling into the deep depths of I'm trying to find some that aren't for sale on the shelves anymore. I need to dive into the resale market.
Yeah.
And that's where it can get a little bit more expensive. But I'm hoping to contain myself. I only want to buy the stuff that I really like, but I'm sure that's how everybody feels at first.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden you're like, well, I need this. Dude, I'll say one of my favorite animes is My Hero Academia. And
I never heard of that one.
Oh, dude, it's fantastic. To be honest, I watched the first season of it, like off a recommendation. I was like, nah, I ain't watching the rest of this. It was boring. Okay. And then I decided to go back to it because I heard it won a bunch of awards, and I watched season 2, and I've been hooked ever since, dude.
Okay, cool.
It's like still running right now, but fantastic show. But I have like 3 variants of the same character. So
you've seen my collection, so you know I do the same.
Yeah, exactly.
I have every Loki.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's how it starts. It's like, oh man, I really like that character. Let me get a pop, in this instance of it. And then you're like, well, I mean, I need him in this pose too.
And I need him in that costume.
Yeah, exactly. So that's a slippery slope.
Yeah, it is. And I think, that's a tip for collecting or anything that you get into like that. But with collecting, like, slippery slope.
Yeah.
Nick described it perfectly. Like, you get one. Like, my very first figure ever was, I bought a Kylo Ren Force Awakens because you know how I love Kylo Ren. So I bought him and I was like, man, this is so good. And then the first one, I bought that from a guy, though. The first one I ever bought, like, from a shop, like a authorized retailer, was Infinity War Thor. So, which actually is on that poster right behind you. So I got him, and I immediately got him. I was like, this is unreal. And that, like, rush you get from opening one, it never goes away. So, like, I think that's maybe... And that could be almost its own episode.
It's like a drug.
It is. That's what I'm saying.
Chasing the high.
It is. So you're spending money, but I'm careful about it. I don't just drop too much too often. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
This is something too, but it's like it is a little bit of a high because you get it and you open it. You're like, if you're such a big fan of these things and you see how great this item looks, you're like, you get that rush. Same with the Funko Pops, even.
Oh yeah.
You're like, oh man, it looks so cute. It reminds me of the character. It reminds me of the film. It is like a rush you get, and you're like, man, I need that again with another character.
Dude, I like the chase as well.
The hunt,
going after like limited stuff,
yes,
and it's like, I found it. I finally found it and got it. Like that's like an adrenaline rush of its own as well.
I agree. The hunt is a huge part. I don't agree. I don't like the hunting animals. We talked about that in another episode.
but I will hunt collectibles.
I will hunt collectibles. I think it's great. Even if you go to Walmart or Target and drive around different places to try to find what you're looking for, that's the hunt, man.
It's fun, man. Even I'm gonna segue a little bit. Even like thrifting. I get this
a
similar feeling.
Yeah.
If you go thrifting and you find like a really cool T-shirt or something like that, you're like, hell yeah,
yeah.
That
boy.
like you didn't even know what you were hunting for,
right?
And then you found something cool and you're like, frick yeah, this is great.
Exactly. So okay. So anything else to summarize with collecting before we wrap up?
No, nothing with collecting. But as always, make sure you guys check out our socials. They will be linked in the description of the YouTube. Do we link these in our podcast and Spotify?
I don't know if we can.
Just check to see if there's links, and if not, you guys can always come to the YouTube video, find our social links there if you want to interact with us more, and make sure that you guys are commenting, letting us know what you like, what you don't like, what you're indifferent about. Drop 10 flame emojis if you could.
Yes, and remember, I'm putting the collection tour in the episode.
Oh, yes, exactly. Check the links. You guys will be watching more videos off of this video, as well as our clips that we've been putting out now.
And Nick's going to put some of his videos as soon. When we get a Funko Pop tour from you.
Oh, man. It'll be a short video, but maybe. We'll see.
Yeah, okay. Well, maybe when you get like 50 of them. Then we'll do it. Okay, so anyway, any final thoughts then, or is that all?
Man, pursue your passions. Do what you want. Try to have a positive outlook on things. Remember, it's all perspective. And before you go jump into any crazy holy smokes, crazy conclusions.
This is live.
I tried, guys. I tried. And before you jump to any crazy conclusions about why somebody unfollowed you or didn't follow you or doesn't like your Instagram or whatever it may be, you know what I mean? Try to put yourself in their perspective. And remember, at the end of the day, it's just social media. It ain't real life. And let's just have a good time.
You've swayed me a little bit. You got me. I think I'm more towards the middle now. I'm still not quite where you are, but I'm in the middle now. I understand maybe I need to be more understanding of other people's perspectives and those kind of things, not be so close-minded. So
Word.
I agree. Just be thoughtful about it.
Yeah.
Follow your dreams, follow your passions, be open-minded. Don't worry about the things you can't control. Really hard to do, but I'm still working on it myself, and I think I've gotten a lot better at it, but it takes time, and we can all do it.
We're all just works in progress, bro.
That's some knowledge right there. Again, you should be teaching classes.
Yee-yee.
Okay. All right, guys. That's it for Will and Nick Save the World, episode 9. And
all right, bye.
We'll see you in the next one.